Tonight we lead with a story that drips with irony, my friends, and yet is so representative of the stubborn cancer of our VIP culture in this country. The Lokpal of India, that great moral compass that was created after a nationwide movement against corruption, has now floated a tender to buy not one, not two, but 7 luxury BMW cars, each worth upwards of 70 lakh rupees, for the transportation needs of the Lokpal chairperson and senior officials. Personally, I'm a little dumbstruck tonight because 14 years ago, I was among hundreds of reporters and citizens who had a ringside view of history as a gigantic uprising at Delhi's Ramlila Maidan under Anna Hazare, defined by a clarion call for the Lokpal, shook an entire government out of power and gave birth to the Lokpal, a first institution of its kind in independent India to inquire and investigate into allegations of corruption against public officials. More than a decade later, that same Lokpal now wants 7 luxury BMW cars for its top bosses. In other words, the institution that exists to hold the corrupt accountable now wants to be chauffeured around in German engineering excellence, cruising over India's potholes in silence, insulated from the noise of reality. And this isn't vague. The Lokpal's tender specifies the BMW model that it wants. Apparently, it couldn't find a single acceptable Indian-made luxury car that costs a fraction of what these BMWs would cost. Maybe the moral high ground has no Indian variant. What's remarkable isn't the brand itself, but the sheer audacity of it. A body like the Lokpal, meant to embody probity, transparency, restraint, propriety, is instead publicly shopping for gleaming imported German sedans. Forget about hypocrisy. How did they even think that they could get away with this? Can this all be explained away with, well, they are entitled to these work benefits, so what's wrong in floating a tender? Well, this is the Lokpal, ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you. And for what? The Lokpal, which has done precious little to tackle corruption. When have you actually seen or heard about the work that they've done? It's now prioritizing shiny new wheels for its bosses. What message does that send to the ordinary citizen who believed this institution was born out of sacrifice and fasting and fury and setting an example for a new India that would get its priorities right? Let's be clear, no one denies senior constitutional functionaries a certain level of comfort, the perks of work, the perks of position, those should all be there. But BMWs, a 5 crore rupee vehicle bill for 7 top officials, for the anti-corruption ombudsman, what next? Lamborghinis for the CVC, Ferraris for vigilance officers? It's tragicomic. The Lokpal, born of a people's movement, they told us, that demanded purity and probity in public life, is now a caricature of that dream, obsessed not with ethics, but with flashiness. There has not been any clarification or rebuttal or denial to this story, mind you. It has betrayed the very purpose of its creation, and image is everything. So here is the verdict. The Lokpal doesn't just need new cars, it needs a new conscience. And I say this without any hesitation in my mind. Shame on the Lokpal of India. Now let me just show you what the Lokpal comprises of, the top leadership of 7 people, presumably for whom these 7 luxury BMWs were being intended to be purchased. A tender was floated. The tender has not been cancelled after the NDTV news break. So there is reason to believe that these are the people for whom those 7 BMW luxury sedans were being procured for. Justice A.M. Khanwilkar is the chairperson of the Lokpal. The members of the Lokpal, the other 6, for a total of 7, are Justice L.N. Swamy, Justice Sanjay Yadav, Justice R.R. Awasthi, Sushil Chandra, Pankaj Kumar, and Ajay Tirke. The question is, why do they need luxury BMWs? Is a question I want to ask. Why is a BMW a priority for a corruption watchdog in this country? Is this an anti-corruption body, or is this a group of people who just want flashy cars? Is this a technicality over, oh, we are entitled to such cars because judges also get the same? Or is it about setting an example and radiating probity, austerity, and restraint? Is it about checking graft or simply living it up? I want to show you what the timeline of the Lokpal is, because this is not something that should matter. But has the Lokpal even earned these kinds of prerequisites? Forget about what is technically correct or wrong. 2011, massive Anna movement for the Lokpal. We all saw it. 2013, the Lokpal bill was passed in Parliament. The Lokpal became a reality. It was sold to the incensed public like some kind of great manna from heaven that will cure all the ills of corruption in this country. We know that was a bit of a joke, but that's a separate issue. 2019, the first Lokpal chairperson was appointed. 6 years on, action only on small fish. Investigations ordered in only 34 cases. Prosecution sanctioned in just 7 cases. Action only on some bank officials and babus. Only 2 big names on the Lokpal radar. One is Trinamool MP Mahua Maitra and the JMM chief Shibu Soren. Prosecution sanction against the both of them. No other sanctions have actually taken place so far. So why, in my mind, I'm wondering, and I'm sure everyone who's watched the effects of this NDTV Newsbreak are wondering the same thing. You've got senior leaders and senior ministers in India, whether it is Ajit Doval, whether it is Nirmala Sitharaman, whether it is any minister you could care to name. They all travel around in Scorpios and Maruti Ciaz cars, etc. So why does the Lokpal fabulous 7 who I've just shown you right now, why do they need a BMW 330 Li Sport, which is a 2-cylinder twin power turbo 4-cylinder, which has a power of 258 horsepower with a torque of 400 Newton meters? It can travel 0 to 100 in 6 seconds, which I'm wondering which they'll ever be able to do in the Delhi NCR region. It has an 8-speed automatic transmission, panoramic sunroof, ambient lighting, multi-zone climate control, Harman Kardon audio system, 6 airbags, amazing safety features, runs on flat tires and is priced around 70 lakh rupees each. So 7 into 70 lakhs, almost 5 crore rupees is the potential bill if this procurement of 7 BMW vehicles goes through for India's principal anti-corruption ombudsman body. It is incredible. It is unconscionable. No matter what technicalities you throw at me today and say that persons in these constitutional positions are technically entitled to such perquisites, I reject it outright. But let's see what our guests tonight think. Dr. Kiran Bedi, a former Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, a veteran IPS officer, and one of the faces of the entire Lokpal movement, one of the most prominent, I would say, of the Lokpal movement, is live with us. Dr. Bedi, welcome. And Suhail Seth, who's our favorite commentator, author, columnist, and marketing guru. Suhail, good to see you. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Dr. Bedi, let me start it off with you. Just your opening thoughts, because this seems so incredibly inappropriate. No matter which way one slices it, tries to justify it, tries to understand it, tries to approach it, the Lokpal, madam, floating a tender for 7 BMW luxury sedans for its top officials. What do you think about it, ma'am?
I'm only feeling very angry. I am very angry. And I'm feeling very distressed. But Shiv, you've said it all actually. All your questions remain unanswered. But you actually also answered the questions. You raised the right questions. So I am very, very angry because I know it wasn't an ordinary movement for many of us. We were sweltering in the humidity. It was very humid those days and very crowded. And I know how we suffered. And I tell you, it was a real suffering. Personally, for me, it was a very big suffering and a very big sacrifice. But I think it's landed up somewhere else.
Yeah.
I am very, very angry, very distressed, very sad to see this outcome. And somebody's approved this file. Who has approved this file? Did they budget it? And number 2, where's the reasoning on the file? Because only the file will tell you what is the reasoning for this expensive expenditure. So I think the file will speak. Have they given any reason why do they need this? Why this model only? And how are they going to utilize it well? Because the performance is obviously very, very low. It's not it is very low. So less said the better. What I'm saying is you said it all, but all I'm saying is I'm feeling very disheartened. I'm very sad because it's a loss of those years. It's a loss of that effort. And it was not just individual effort, it was a colossal national movement. And at that time, corruption was at its peak, was it maximum. You had the 2G, you had the other society scandals, you had many scandals at that. You had Commonwealth Games, you name it, and it was existing. So I think that is what a few of us went after and put
I feel, Dr. Bedi, I feel your anger because, I was there in the Ramlila Maidan when you were on stage, day after day, thundering that message. You didn't need to be there and yet you were. So I completely believe and understand your anger, what you feel today, because, the Lokpal isn't just another body. It isn't just another constitutional, outfit. This is something that was birthed from a historic, unprecedented movement that was organic in many ways. Suhail, today the Lokpal has not said anything. They've not responded to this story. They've not commented. They've not clarified. They've not denied. They've not rebutted. They've not said, nahi, but we are entitled to these cars. So why is everyone so outraged? What would you say, Suhail?
I think it is a national shame. These people should be sacked, but they won't. It is a cozy club, which is buttressed by judges, by retired bureaucrats who think they're entitled to a life of luxury when they're dealing on matters which pertain to the lowest, as you rightly said, to the commonest denominator. And the tragedy is, I'm delighted, Shiv, that you're calling them out, because these clowns need to be called out every day for the shame they're heaping, not only on themselves, but on their office. A. B. Look at the irony. The Prime Minister has gone out of his way to say, let's believe and buy Swadeshi.
Yes.
The Home Minister, who is under the highest level of threat, drives around in an Indian car, a Tata Scorpio or Mahindra Scorpio. I don't know the names of these vehicles. You have Nirmala Sitharaman in a Maruti. What makes these people so special, so vulnerable, so low in self-esteem that they need a car to prove how important, how worthy, and how relevant they are? It is an absolute shame. My other point is, look at the people who are allowing this to happen. I don't know who the Lokpal reports to, but if they report to the President of India, the President of India should rap them on the knuckles.
Yeah.
Look at the simplicity with which our Honorable President behaves. Look at the simplicity with which our ministers behave. I can understand the Prime Minister, because of very, very heightened security, needing a particularly customized car. And all Prime Ministers have had it. So to say only Modi's had it is again an anomaly. But to then have these people use public exchequer money and do the things that they do just because they want to impress people. And who are they impressing? They are today a national scandal and a national shame. If I were the Lokpal or one of those 7 clowns, I would actually say that, look, I don't want a BMW. I'm very happy with what I have.
Yeah.
And you pertinently pointed out, what are these guys going to do with a BMW? What happens after their tenure? Half these people will not be able to afford it unless, of course, they've been corrupt, which is again ironic for the Lokpal.
Yeah.
What are you trying to prove in a country which is now exhorting its citizens to buy and behave and believe in Swadeshi? You are now smacking them right in the middle of the face, saying, look, I will do what I want. I'll tell you, there's an old thing. When you have very little to either offer to society, or whether you're cerebrally innocent, then you clutch on to visible symbols of, consumption, and more so of conspicuous consumption.
Yes.
And that is what these people are doing. I mean, it's an absolute shame. But I'll tell you what will happen. Nothing. because these people are also extremely thick-skinned and know how to work the corridors of power. They believe that this story will die down, and I hope, Shiv, you don't let it die down.
No, I promise you.
Suhail,
Suhail, I promise you we will not only not let it die down, but we're going to continue hammering the Lokpal until we get an answer from them. They've been silent for about 48 hours since the story actually broke. And it's incredible, Dr. Bedi, that they've this tender document, and you've seen hundreds of thousands of tender documents in your time. This is an incredible tender document, Dr. Bedi. It specifies the brand and the model name of the car. That much homework has gone into this whole thing. So the question I want to ask you is, does this revelation in any way morally compromise the Lokpal in your view, ma'am? We are all very angry about it. There is a sentiment that you feel as well. But on the ground, as far as the Lokpal is concerned, do you feel that it raises questions on their moral authority?
Well, if the moral authority was a priority, this wouldn't have happened. So you talk to something no more realistic. When anybody who's demanding this in such a situation obviously is minus moral authority. So therefore, I'm very keen to know who has sanctioned it. Somebody has to approve it.
Yeah.
So who has approved it? And if we keep this media pressure on, Shiv, I think I will give you full credit. I'll give NDTV the full credit for having saved these 5 crores. So I think the only answer is this public pressure, because it was a public movement which brought Lokpal. It is a public movement now which can stem it. Let's stem it by public movement.
100% with you on that. And then there is just a stench of shamelessness. I'm almost out of time, but I'll give the last 60 seconds to Suhail. There's a stench of shamelessness to this, Suhail. The memory of the integrity of the movement itself is forgotten. And these people are old enough to know what that movement was about.
And I'm not praising you, Shiv, but that's because we, and especially you guys, the media, which is the guardian, which is the beacon, which shines on these criminal activities. To my mind, it's criminality. When you are vested with so much of power, which is derived from integrity, and you let an entire nation down, to my mind, it is criminal to allow that, because people will not have any bharosa. They won't trust you anymore. That you tell me, with what moral high ground will the Lokpal ever talk about corruption, ever talk about morality, ever talk about integrity? They have shamed not just a movement. They have allowed themselves to become the symbols of excess and shame in India. That, to my mind, is worrying. It is not Lokpal, it is self-pal.
Yeah.
हम अपने आप को पालेंगे और अपने पालने के लिए हम BMW भी यूज करेंगे, हम lavish घरों में भी रहेंगे. It's the same thing what Kejriwal did. These guys come to power on the promise of penury, poverty, and simplicity, and they live like kings on other people's money. That's who we've become. That's who these people are.
It is truly shattering. And, it always is a side story of this kind. I can say, as a journalist who's been in the mainstream media for 2 decades and who was there, I covered Dr. Kiran Bedi's speeches up close. I was, 10, 15 feet away from her when she made that very memorable, possibly the most memorable speech from the Ramlila Maidan stage. And yet, to think that we haven't even reported much about the Lokpal until today, and when we're reporting this absolutely shameful development.
A Kiran Bedi would not do it. You know why? Because a Kiran has morality. Kiran is educated, and Kiran's heart bleeds for India. These people, their hearts bleed for themselves. They are self-propelled propaganda mushroom parachutes. On my personal part, Dr. Bedi and Suhail, I promise you, we at NDTV will continue to report the story. We'll get to the bottom of it. We'll find out who sanctioned it, and we'll find out where the buck stops on this. Thank you very much to the both of you for your time tonight on this story. Thank you very much.